Welcome back to Central PA Live. Joining me now is the legendary Charlotte Ames.
Oh, legendary just means I've been here a long time. Okay,
Charlotte, thanks for being here. Earlier on the show, we were in the kitchen with Chef Dallas and got to know one of our new news reporters, Isabella Basco. If you missed either of those, you can check out our website, which is centralpatv.com. Still to come, Man on the Street Monday. But right now, it's time for Today's Trending. I didn't know if you knew to do that.
I forgot. It just kind of hit me at the last minute. Trying to do the right thing.
Well, we have some really good trending topics today. First up, Pixar's Incredibles 2 just earned $180 million at the box office, and that's the biggest opening day ever for an animated film. Huh. At the same time, Disney is issuing an unprecedented warnings to viewers of the new film. It involves a scene with a villain named Screenslaver that features a series of bright flashing lights. The warning comes after some people posted concerns on social media that moviegoers with a type of epilepsy could be at risk. The Epilepsy Foundation says for about 3% of patients in some situations, flashing lights can trigger a seizure. It's called photosensitive epilepsy, and it is more common in kids and teens.
I wonder if that did affect anybody, really.
You know, I mean, obviously epilepsy, something we should take seriously, right?
Definitely.
But I think, kind of to your point there, were there any cases of that? They said only 3% of people have that happen. Yeah. And is that on the movie creators to be careful of that?
Probably.
Or is that on people that are living with this to be more cautious?
I'm sorry. I can understand why they would do that to some extent, but then I always wonder, I always like to know what really happened. Was anybody affected, that sort of thing? I would hope not.
Well, I have to tell you, I was telling you before we came in here that I was at a play a couple weeks ago in Crescent, and at the beginning of the play, the guy came out and he said, in the second act, about 5 minutes in, there's going to be a loud bang. And I thought, well, thanks for the spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's different, but still, yeah.
Right, you know, it's a little bit different, but in the same, it was like, oh, we don't want, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess there were some people that appreciated that, and I didn't.
Did it ruin the plot?
It didn't ruin the plot, but it was supposed to scare you.
Oh,
and now it didn't scare me. And I think kind of the same, not the exact same thing with this Incredibles, but you know, if you're watching a movie, you're expecting an action scene. If you know, like now, everybody who watched the show, we just told you when the action scene was going to be. You know.
Maybe.
But I did.
Yeah.
But I did see
Incredibles.
I went to see Incredibles 2. As a matter of fact, we were in Clearfield County last week. We went to the drive-ins.
I remember that yesterday.
And I had the pleasure of going with John and Amanda, and John brought his kids. And I love watching kids laugh is one of the funniest.
That would be the fun part of it.
That was really fun.
I was just saying I don't really like animated movies. Sorry, I'm not cool. But having kids there, I mean, that would be different. They get a kick out of it, yeah.
Well, listen to this. Gaming disorder is now a mental health condition.
Oh, boy.
That's according to the World Health Organization. The disorder is listed in the 11th edition of its International Classification of Diseases, which publishes Monday. The ICD is used by doctors and other medical practitioners to diagnose disease and other conditions. In many cases, healthcare companies and insurers use the ICD as a basis for insurance reimbursement. Characteristics of gaming disorder include a loss of control and an escalation of gaming behavior. Despite negative consequences, the expectation is that the classification of gaming disorder means health professionals and systems will be more alerted to the existence of the condition.
That's interesting. You know, when something's in the ICD, though, that is a big deal, and professionals fight about that, what's going to go in there.
Well, you've been a healthcaster for a long time. Have you seen, has this happened before where we've seen something that, I mean, obviously gaming hasn't been around forever.
It's controversial.
Yeah.
A lot of the some of the changes are. Yeah, and I would imagine this would be too. You and I were talking, though, I would never have that, at least, gaming disorder.
I would never have gaming disorder either, but here's what I was talking about is that I think that addiction in and of itself is the disorder. I think we can be addicted to anything.
You're right. I don't know about that.
You know, I do. I honestly got.
I think you can be really drawn to something, but I think some professionals, and I'm not a professional in medicine or psychiatry or anything, but I think they would argue that there are certain things that you're really, really drawn to that aren't an addiction. But then we're not going to solve that one.
Yeah.
We're not going to.
By the way, we don't. I really have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, well, here's our last topic in trending today. The youngest biomedical engineer in the country is graduating from UC Davis today. 14-year-old Tashik Abraham started attending the university when he was 12. Now Abraham has been accepted into a PhD into the ADPhD.
Into a PhD.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't read that. Sometimes they put these letters out on the teleprompter, and I get, when it has one in front of it, it messes you up. But anyway, he got accepted into a PhD program. Clearly, I will not be. And he's already started taking graduate courses.
Well, they try to make it easier for you by putting a hyphen in.
Yeah, and sometimes.
See, this is like technical TV talk.
Yeah.
They put a hyphen in between. Sometimes if it just said something like PhD,
sure, yeah.
you know, oh yeah, PhD. But anyway,
it sounds like a young genius to me. How do you feel about that? He's 14 years old.
I'm envious. I'd like to be a young. I'm too old to be a young genius. I'd like to be just a genius.
I've always said, they say surround yourself by smart people, and that's kind of why I was interested in this job, being around in the newsroom. There are a lot of smart people. You are very smart. John Clay is very smart.
Thank you.
Amanda's very smart. I myself am not very smart. That's why. But anyway, I think it's really neat when kids not only are smart but have the resources and the ability to be able to do that, because sometimes I think there's smart kids in parts of the world that don't get these opportunities.
I also wonder, what kind of family he has and how smart are they? Yeah. What kind of genetics does he have? I'd like to, he's got to donate his brain to science someday.
Yeah. Well, Charlotte, thank you so much for hanging with me. It's always fun when I get to spend time with you. CBS's Steve Hartman has our next story about